is in the middle. Checks back against Carter and scores. That is atypical for the Aimee-Lou goal.
Quickly gets it back again. Oh, what a goal! Well, that sums up her season. The Gunners are WSL champions.
And welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Vic Akers Wonderland podcast. It's me, Adam Salter, back in the hosting chair, which can only mean one thing. We're previewing another WSL weekend. And what a fixture we've got to discuss, because it's a game that's not even happening on the weekend. It's on the Friday night. So it's Friday night under the lights at Emirates Stadium, Arsenal versus Brighton, which I'm very excited to talk about and looking forward to. And looking ahead with me for this game is, of course, the lovely Lottie. And a magnificent Matt in the hat. Matt, how are you?
I am not too bad, thank you. It's been an interesting week, shall we say?
Yes, it has. There's been a lot of news and a lot to pick through. Lottie, yourself, looking forward to this one?
I don't know how I feel right now. There's a lot to go through. There's a lot to process still. So I don't know where my head's at the minute with this club, to be honest with you.
Yes, there's been a lot of stuff, news on and off the pitch. We are still without a manager, and the search seems to be taking forever. Nonetheless, the Renee-lution does continue on. Renee just remains at the wheel.
I thought we were going with Renaissance.
Renaissance. Well, Renaissance is the name of the game at the moment, but I'm flying the flag for Renee-lution. I'm offering an alternative phrasing.
Fair play.
But we're not just joined by the lovely Lottie and the magnificent Matt. We have the amazing Aimee-Lou from Beyond the Pitch, who, in my experience, is the biggest Brighton fan I've ever met, and delighted to welcome aboard. Aimee, welcome to the show. Looking forward to this one?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we are on Arsenal pod, but we will talk about Brighton, and there's a fair bit to discuss because I don't think anyone noticed they've had a rather good start to the season, and I think I'd say even better than us. So looking forward to picking that apart. So we'll start with the opening icebreaker, and this is a fun one. Like I said, it's under the lights at Emirates Stadium for Arsenal. So just as a whip round, what has been your favourite under the lights game in the WSL? Can be home or away. What's that? Because from my experience, a lot of our games seem to be played at lunchtime, which is rather annoying. But there's something magical about a game late evening under the lights. Matt, I'll come to you first. What has been your favourite nighttime WSL game?
Well, you've given me the short end of the stick, really, because there's only two that really feature for me, and one of them is my first away game, which was against Aston Villa.
Yeah.
Peyton Cave towards that banger from 2/3 of the pitch.
Yeah.
Or it's the North London derby where we go in that first year in the Seinfeld season, and Tottenham go and get a penalty, and then they hit the post. So I think I will probably go just for the fond memories. I think it's Villa. It's got to be Villa away.
I thought you were going to go for the Villa game from last season when you had to bail with half an hour to go because otherwise you'd miss your train. You missed out on all the fun at the end. Lottie, any particular game that stands out for you?
The only game I remember being under the lights is probably Sockgate against Chelsea, which was a nightmare at Stamford Bridge.
That's not a good one.
Away from the WSL, it's got to be that 1-0 over City. When we were in Meadow Park, that's one of the best games we've been to.
No,
and
that's
Chloe Kelly had an argument with the corner flag. I'll never forget that. It was hilarious.
Yep, no, I'll go with that. Aimee, what about yourself? Any fun Brighton games in the dark?
I can't really remember many Brighton games being in the dark. I don't think we normally get in the dark games.
Really?
But I've got a couple England games. I went to the Euro 2022 at the Amex. Sort of Brighton, sort of counts. The 8-0 against Norway.
Oh, I was there. Yeah. No,
that was good.
I can 100% agree with that. If I were to chuck one at you, one of the best games last season, the 2-2 between Brighton and Man United at the Crawley Ground. Obviously, it wasn't the game. I thought Brighton looked amazing. I thought they just looked under was Mel Phillips at the time. Now, obviously, Mel Clark-Reid. I thought they looked spectacular in that game and wasn't to be. For me, I mean, the best game I've ever seen under the lights in the WSL would be the game we actually lost, which was to Manchester United at Emirates Stadium. It's still one of the best games. Just a brilliant game. We didn't win it, but it was a great from a neutral perspective. My favourite one, though, is winning 5-0 at Meadow Park against Manchester City. Just absolutely bonkers. The most bonkers game I've ever watched. Should not have been that scoreline, but circumstances meant it was so. And that left Meadow Park thinking we were going to win the league that season. A spoiler alert, we didn't. Moving on to the news, and there's been a lot to get through. The big one is, of course, the fact that Arsenal versus Bayern Munich is in major jeopardy. It's clashing with the men's game. They've got a League Cup tie against Crystal Palace scheduled on the same time. This is very problematic. We can't really move the date about because the women's team have to play at the same time as their group counterparts, which will be, I believe, I'm trying to remember who's in the group, Juventus against Vålerenga. So that's play at the same time because it's I think it's right, Matt. It's the last game. Is it the last game in the group? The Bayern game. It's the finale, isn't it? So yeah. So we've got to play. So we've got to play the two at the same time to avoid any conflicts. And there's also a rule that you have to have the stadium free the night before. So Bayern can train on that pitch as well, and there's media duties and stuff to go on. It's an absolute mess, and there doesn't seem to be any way around it apart from. Well, tell you what, we'll open it to the floor. Lottie, I'll go to you first. Lottie, how would you resolve this conundrum?
I would just make the men go and play in Palace. We had the date first. End of story for me.
Yeah.
That's the sensible answer because there's fans that have booked. They're still selling tickets. There's no notification that it could be moved, have they?
I
looked at 4:00 this afternoon. They were still selling tickets.
I saw in the last few hours or so, there was something about it. I think they put a stop in it. I think Freddie from the Gooner or someone had put a notification saying, for obvious reasons, they can't resell tickets anymore whilst this is in jeopardy. I did think the same, though. I did think that maybe
they should have closed down the tickets first, then told everybody, because people are still buying. I know a few people are still buying tickets. Or if you're someone,
carry on. We'll come back to that one. Matt, how would you solve this one?
Well, just on the venues, there's only 3 places actually that are UEFA qualified to hold the game, and that is that's in London, shall I say? So GTEC, which is Brentford, you've got Wembley itself, and Stadium MK, which is Milton Keynes. A lot of people have already said no about Milton Keynes because there's too many roundabouts and people, and just the confusion. Either way, it's lose-lose for everyone because you're not going to get that atmosphere. The only other thing would be to see if Brighton would be able to hold it. And again, that comes up to UEFA's decision. UEFA have to say yes to that, and if they do say it's a one-off yes, that's then thousands of tickets that have to be refunded. So Arsenal are going to lose a lot of money if they do that. I think they would probably look towards a bigger stage and then go into more.
I am going to butt in there. Sorry. Thing is, if they're more likely to sell out the men's to make more money than they are the women's for a Champions League group stage. Yeah. And that is the ultimate thing for the club at this point. Even for Bolton Wanderers, when you had nearly a full house, and it's Bolton. Regardless if it's Crystal Palace or not, the men's brings in the money. Whereas the women, you're looking at 5,000-7,000 crowd for a group stage game. Until it gets to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, that's when the crowds will grow.
I love I want us to be treated, both sides be treated equally, and I would love that the women's be treated preferential situation as they should be. Unfortunately, I don't think the women's, the game and society, I don't think we're at the level where we can actually do that. I was talking with somebody about.
It's also disappointing from the club as well because we pride ourselves so much on this one club mentality, and they've just discarded us like that, and it's not okay.
It's not right. Unfortunately, the situation is unfortunate because it's literally the thousand, all the different things have lined up, and it's an unfortunate situation. I don't think really any blame can be put on the club to be in this predicament. I blame the fact that there are too many games at the moment, and I put that on the likes of UEFA and their expanded Champions League and the League Cup, and it's an absolute mess. I mean, Aimee, from a neutral perspective, what's your take on this whole farce? And suppose this could be where the game goes as more games have been put to the main stage. I mean, like the Amex, for example. If let's say Brighton men have got their Cup games on, and then obviously you'll want to play in their game as well.
Definitely, I think there's been a bit of a mess up in schedules, but yeah, from a neutral, I understand why it's annoying, and I agree with Lottie's point with the men are definitely they're gonna bring in that sellout crowd for a League Cup game, so they will want to prioritise the financial aspect of it. Either way, the women are going to lose out.
Yeah.
So it's not brilliant.
I did suggest the idea to someone about the swapping, like home and away, have the men play at Selhurst Park and keep the women at Bayern Munich. And for me, that would be the morally right thing to do, but
there's also a problem that Tottenham are hosting Man United that same night.
Yeah,
they can't do it.
Yeah, so it's lose-lose however way you play it, and that was the way I would have done it, but you can't justify that just because it's, as much as it's the sentiment of equality, you have to look at the other factors as well. It's a logistical nightmare, whatever decision is made, and I think they are Matt said, I think they are looking to maybe do it Meadow Park just like one-off thing, which would be nice. We love Meadow Park, and Meadow Park.
Also looking at Brentford as well.
They are. So Meadow Park under the lights, home advantage still, and we would make an absolute din if we could squeeze 4,000 people in there. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's moved to a bigger stadium. I heard the West Ham London Stadium might be used. I would have been for Wembley actually, because the men used to play at Wembley in the Champions League, and I'd been before they were doing the same. But again, I don't think they bring the crowd in. We'll keep our ears open and hopefully.
Against the idea of West Ham, they can't even support their own women's team, let alone help us out.
No.
I think it's too far as well. If you do go out that far, you want a stadium in North London at the very least. So Wembley makes the most amount of sense, to be honest.
Well, we shall wait and see what the ultimate decision is. Discussions are ongoing with Arsenal and UEFA. Hopefully, a resolution can be found. But I think going forward, that there needs to be safeguards in place, fixture-wise, to ensure that clash like this don't happen. Because this, I don't know, when the moment it was discovered that there was they must have known how the League Cup draw was going to line up, and it was always a gamble that these two things could have lined up. If Arsenal had been drawn away, it wouldn't have mattered, nothing would have happened, but they've been drawn at home, and we are where we are. In other news, the FA Cup is getting a new broadcaster. Channel 4 have picked up the TV rights, taking them off the BBC, and they will be broadcasting the FA Cup from next season. This is their first foray into women's football since... I'm going to go around the room. Who can remember the last time Channel 4 covered? No, there's a shake of the head from Lottie. There's a panicked look of eyes from Aimee-Lou. Matt, do you know the last time that the women were on the Channel 4?
The 2017 Euros.
5 points to Matt. Top banana. That's right. The Euro 2017 in the Netherlands, when England got to semi-finals and lost 3-0 to a Netherlands team coached by Serena Wiegman. Whatever happened to her? Yes, the Channel 4 are picking up the rights. So, Lottie, excited, disappointed, intrigued? How do you think they will fare after the BBC have handed the rights over to them?
It'd be interesting to see what happens. I mean, we had I think the comments we had at the Man United game from a very experienced women's football commentator haven't helped. I know a lot of people were upset about that, and it wasn't really necessary. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we'll see what Channel 4's got. I mean, it can't be worse than the BBC, right?
Well, I should say the commentary that you mentioned, that was not on the BBC. That was on the YouTube. That was the YouTube feed, because it was the male.
No, I was watching it on BBC Two.
No, what are you talking about? The comments when Ella Toon was subbed off?
Yep, it's BBC Two.
No, because that was a male doing it. The women was Vicky Sparks on BBC Two, so it was the YouTube feed.
Okay.
I want to say, but I know it was with the comment. We should just say that there was a comment with Ella Toon subbed off today. The male commentator made some very derogatory remarks, which I'm very surprised of, because that commentator is very experienced in the game and should have known better. So, very, very shocked by that. I have my opinion of this. I'll just come to you quickly, Matt. Channel 4, FA Cup. A lot of potential in that competition.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with it, instead of, say, when they bring in the fourth round, you'll have the WSL and the Championship teams. It'll be interesting if they turn around and decide, what, we'll do it from X, Y, Z, round 1, round 2, whatever it is. Hopefully that's a little bit more money. I've actually looking. The second round draw for the men's, I know it's a bit different. you're getting, say, 25,000 if you lose the tie. If you go on TV, you're still getting 60 grand as well. So for someone like Kettering, that's like 85 grand. That basically helps your facilities out. I know the women's game isn't there, but imagine if you were, say, to get 10, 15,000, that sorts out your facilities for the next 5 years, maybe a little bit more longer. So it's all about making that projection and getting there higher. But I hope that they're not going to do what the BBC have done and just ignored it.
Yes, we've spoken before about this. I have a lot of issues with the coverage of the FA Cup at the moment. But I'll come to that in a minute. Amy, I'll give you a shout on this one. Obviously, thoughts on Channel 4 maybe covering a Brighton Cup run next season?
I'd be up for that. Yeah, we always seem to love a cup run, but if they start I don't know what the ins and outs are, but if they start broadcasting it from early on, I feel like it's going to be very beneficial. I noticed that there was the little campaign that Lewis did with Dulwich in their first round, the even the score thing, which was quite interesting, just because it was just comparing the men's winnings to the women's winnings. And obviously they're quite big advocates for equaling men and women pay in football. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Channel 4 takes it.
It will be. I do have concerns because they covered the men's football, international football, for a few years, and I don't think the coverage was well received. There's a reason why ITV are now doing the games again. But I say this is a massive opportunity, and I said before, it's a badly under-coveraged competition, and it has a lot of heritage in the women's game because for many years, the FA Cup final was the only time you saw your club on TV. And most of the time that was Arsenal, which was quite nice. But for everybody else, it was the only chance you got to see Kelly Smith, Casey Stoney, Rachel Yankee, Aimee-Lou, play for the clubs. So the fact that it was you only get one game around and then the final, and you don't see any of the stuff pre-WSL, I've always thought that to be particularly scandalous. So I hope that Channel 4 treat the competition with a lot of respect and do a decent job of broadcasting it. So best of luck to them, and we look forward to see what they've got for us next season. Just to quickly wrap up on the news section before we do move on to a game to discuss, which is of course the Nations League. The Nations League draw was made, and we have been drawn with Spain, Belgium, and Portugal. Amy, any games there you're looking forward to maybe getting to? Hopefully, maybe the Amex might host one of them.
Hopefully, they seem to love the Lionesses down there. But no, I do want to see us against Spain, even though not brilliant in all aspects against Spain. Can't seem to win against Spain, no matter who's playing. So
we should just say, hang on, Spain and Amex Stadium has some very good heritage. We should not forget that.
Yeah, that is very true, actually.
Did you go to that one? Did you go to the Spain game?
No, I didn't make that one.
Oh no, neither did I. But that was a good one. Lottie, any away trips? Maybe trip to Portugal, maybe for.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the Portuguese girls are up and coming. I mean, they gave us a bit of spice during the Euros for an underdog. So yeah, probably the Portugal game for me.
Now, I love Portugal in the Euros. Me and Matt were discussing the LSV when I was last there before the Man United game. I watched Portugal and they were brilliant in that game against the Netherlands. Matt, any exciting games for you in that lineup?
Just going back to some of those games in the Euros, I went to see Belgium, Italy at the City Stadium, which is now Joy Stadium. Although it wasn't very joyful for both teams because it ended up 1-0.
Yes, it did. Well, Italy were very disappointing, if I recall, in those Euros.
Yes, I think it's an opportunity again. I mean, game against Portugal where we drew 1-1 in the build-up to the World Cup. So it's
it was 0-0. It was 0-0 actually. We didn't even score a goal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew it was a draw. I know it was something. I know everyone was sort of questioning. So there's a lot of opportunity to sort of figure out what's going to happen over the next couple of years. Will we perhaps see some of the under-17s that were in the previous World Cup?
Yes.
That's just finished. Are they going to start to slowly be built in? Because would be nice to see if that happens, but it's very much a wait and see at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, the big question we've got Rasuna is when she's going to start bleeding the youngsters in? And we're seeing some effects of not doing that, I think, in the last international break. My eye is on Belgium, because obviously in the last Nations League, we had Belgium in our group and we lost away in Belgium, and that was a very costly defeat. Well, amongst many bad results in that group, losing late on against Belgium really held us back. A last thing to just mention before we go into the game today, but it's just an announcement: Edu has left the club, sporting director, who people have different opinions on how he ran the club. I thought he did a pretty good job, considering the mess that we were in before he arrived, and the state certainly for the men's side we are at now. Wish him all the best for his obviously future endeavours. This had come up in the press conference. Obviously he did have a bit of a hand on the women's side as well, and Renee was very quick to say that it's not going to affect the managerial search that's happening at the moment, that there is actually a committee working on this process, and this will be unaffected by Edu's departure. So here's hoping whoever does come to the club process will follow accordingly. We should say there was a recent announcement that Nick Cushing might be linked with the job. He's been very quick to dismiss it in a press conference, apparently. So make of that what you will. We will move on to Arsenal versus Brighton, starting with the away team. And we're just going to run through some players that they have signed in the summer. Frank Kirby, I believe it's pronounced right, Kiko Syke, who scored a hat-trick, I think, against Everton in the opening game. It's become the big fancy WSL points scorer there. Kankovic, Jelena Kankovic, and Nikita Parrish, and a certain Michelle Agyemang. To combine with, obviously, the likes of Maria Torres-Totier, Vicky Losada, Pauline Bremer, and Sophie Bagley. So, Amy, the trophy parade for the WSL, I'm assuming you've got your tickets booked. It's coming home, clearly. It's a stellar lineup. Is this going to be the season with Brighton? Because every season it's always like, this is going to be when Brighton do it. This is going to be the season with Brighton, and then they get like 3 games in, and then suddenly they lose 5. They sack their manager, and then it's back to square one again. Is this going to be the season where it finally clicks?
The open top bus is already booked. No, I'm joking. I'm very, very excited already. Normally at this point, a couple seasons ago, I probably would have been just buried away somewhere, just not talking about it. But now I can actually say really excited for this season, the rest of the season, and I've never been so confident in my life.
Excellent. Well, we'll get onto the season in a bit. I just want to discuss Brighton. They came up in 2018. They had to apply for their WSL1 license when the league got reconfigured. So I think they finished second in the league, but they got promoted, and they've been with us ever since. And they've always been a very tricky customer. They've had a few scares of relegation, but it's usually either at the bottom fighting out, or they're in the mid-table taking scalps off other teams. I mean, they famously beat Chelsea, I think 2-1 at Kingsmeadow on a season when they won the league. They could do things like that. They won away at Manchester City. Only one other team did that last season. I can't remember who they are, who they were. But they came up under Hope Powell, legendary England manager, we should say. What was that like? Do you have any recollection? What was your memories of the Hope Powell tenure?
I absolutely loved Hope Powell. I loved the way that we played football. It might not have been the most attractive, but I still have a lot of respect and admiration for her and everything now that she's gone and done as well. But yeah, no, it was a great time, but I think it slowly ran its course, and it sort of just came to an end after that Spurs loss.
Yes, I won't say the scoreline, but you can Google it. It wasn't a great one, and under Hope Powell, the team was always very stubborn, very difficult, very well coached, I would say, sort of defensive perspective. But I think you're right. There was not much flair or attacking flair, and it became more focused on let's avoid losing rather than let's try and maybe instigate. Now our current head of analysis, obviously took up the mantle. There was another manager in between who was only there for about a few days and then he left. So we'll gloss over that one. But yes, Mel Reid Clark was Mel Phillips. Now that was last season, and I mentioned earlier, got the draw home to Man United, won away at Manchester City. Why did it go wrong so quickly after that? Because after those games, I thought again it was going to fly. Why did it all fall apart?
So did I. I thought after those we were like, oh, we're back. We're so back. But I think you can always say that like, oh, the quality of players wasn't good enough. But if you looked at our squad on paper, that was an absolutely brilliant squad.
Yeah.
But as soon as we signed all these players, we're like, yeah, great season. Just I don't think she could properly get 100% out of the players. Again, lovely woman, really good coach. I just don't think it was Brighton.
I remember when the news came through and I thought that's harsh, but maybe that's because yeah. Admittedly, I don't. Obviously, my focus is on Arsenal. Brighton, I sort of hear about the results on the side, and my impression was that they'd gone through a very bad run of form after those really good results. Do you think if she'd been given time, it's a hypothetical, but if she have got it back on track, or was it the right decision in the end, long term?
I think it was quite early to call it.
Right.
I think given her maybe couple more weeks, and she might have been able to. But I think at that point we didn't have a couple weeks. It wasn't looking great. We were sitting quite low already, I think. So we sort of just needed results, but they still weren't
there
afterwards.
So now you're under the manager of Dario Vidosic. Is that right?
Dario Vidosic.
Yeah. How has it been under him? What's his play style been like?
Attacking.
Right.
Yeah, which is something completely new to me. This is like an alien concept, and I've never seen this before. And we came out first game of the season against Everton, and I was like, cool, I'll be happy with a 1-0 win. Happy enough. And then Steph goes and scores a hat trick, and my mind is absolutely blown. I don't know what's going on. And then more games come, and we're unbeaten, and Dario wins Manager of the Month, and I'm like, where has he come from? Where has he been? Where was he 2 years ago? But no, I think this is after the window. We signed all these big names. You got Frank Kirby that we knew was going to happen. Kankovic, which came out of absolutely nowhere, and Paris, which was rumoured for a couple of days. They've all come in and they've all made their mark on the team straight away, which is, I don't think we'd seen that before. So whether Dario's got that out of them, or we've actually just brought in the right people for this group, that's up for debate. Do
you think is this ultra attacking? So my experience of Brighton was always low block, very tough defence, hard to break down. Very much, I think, a carry from the Hove Albion era. This Uno reverse, effectively, and it's now we're going to go all out attack and we're going to impose ourselves. Firstly, has it left you potentially more suspect defensively than maybe before because your focus is now at the other end of the pitch? And sort of combined with that, is this attacking mentality going to be sustainable throughout the season? Because obviously you're taking teams a lot by surprise now in the early days. Is this going to be a snowball all the way to the end of the season, do you think?
I don't know how long we'll be able to keep it up for, but as long as we've got it now, that's fine. Yeah. Defensively, we're still pretty solid.
Good.
We've only conceded 4 so far this season, and we scored 11, which I think probably last season, we probably only scored 11 goals all season. So the fact that we're 6 games in and we've already scored 11,
yeah,
we would have probably conceded 11 by now. But no, so I think defensively we're still pretty solid, and we'll just see how long this run will last.
This run goes for. So you've only had the one defeat, which I think was to Manchester City, which is fair enough. They're a pretty decent side. Like us, you've drawn 1-1 against Man United. That was the first time I'd watched them live, Brighton, that season. I thought the first half, a bit sketchy. And then I thought second half, I thought you were brilliant. I thought, well, just before half time, it looked like they sort of worked Man United out. And obviously, I think it was at Paris, I think it got the equaliser. Yeah, against our former club, which is always nice. Got the equaliser, and I thought you were really good value for the point then in that game. So I just want to run through, obviously, some of the big sides. Frank Kirby, how delightful is it to have Frank Kirby in such an experience, such a talent, WSL winning, Euro winning, the lot, in the heart of your attack?
When she was announced, I was actually on holiday, so I was sat in a restaurant in the middle of somewhere, like freaking out, because I was like, how have we managed to get a player of this quality that is unbelievable, that's household name, I'd say.
Yeah.
Won so much with Chelsea, with England. I don't understand how we managed to bag that. So having her in the squad, and she does obviously bring that level of experience and knowledge, and we still got, despite the experience and talent that we've brought in, we've still got youth coming up who are also promising. So she'll then also give that experience to them.
Well, one of the challenges I think is Katie Robinson. No, Katie Robinson's left, hasn't she?
She left to Villa.
Because she was one of the ones, the really talented ones for the last few seasons. That was the one she kept making the England squad, and sadly she's departed. But I mean, total talent. Vic Akers got previous summer Champions League winning captain from Barcelona. I don't know how you managed to get her to come over. Nikita Parris you mentioned. Michelle Agyemang, we've got to mention Michelle Agyemang. So we obviously we love Michelle Agyemang. She's one of our own, come through the academy, had a few loan signings. Now she's going to a WSL. How has she settled in?
So Dario has been using her as like a little impact sub at the moment, but she does really make that impact. You can see the difference between tired legs and fresh, because she just brings so much energy when she plays. She scored in the Villa game that we played at home last month. Great goal, brilliant goal. I do like her as a player. I do think that she deserves a start soon. But no, I think she's settled in quite nicely so far, and
she's cup tied for obviously this weekend, won't be available. We're obviously hoping that she's going to come back to Arsenal and hopefully maybe she has a really good strong spell at Brighton and shows a lot of talent. Hopefully she can be integrated into the first team. But if she does well at Brighton, will you be hoping that maybe Brighton could take her off our hands permanently? Because often you see that with a loan deal, they decide to make that their new home. Would you like to see her back at the next season at Brighton?
Yeah, I actually would. You probably won't like to hear that, but
no, it's fine.
No, I do think she's got a lot of quality, and I think she's sort of fitted in quite well with the team. So if she did move, I think it makes sense that she came back to the South Coast, but
we'll see. So you're obviously going to be at the game. You're going to be at Emirates Stadium in the away section. Firstly, how excited are you to be going to Emirates Stadium? The fact that Brighton obviously got the game there, and any thought? Are you confident you could get a win against Arsenal at Emirates Stadium?
When I figured out the game was at the Emirates, I was like, I've got to put that now. I've got to be there. 100%. I will be there no matter what. Even I'd go on my own. But no, I'm very, very excited because it's not normal that Brighton get to play away at one of the main stadiums. So this is quite like a once in a blue moon sort of thing. But am I going in confident? Yes, I absolutely am. I've been talking to a few of my friends that are also Arsenal fans, and I've been giving them a bit of stick, being like,
well, we should just say just the table. Brighton are currently third. Brighton are in the European slot spaces. So European football as it stands is coming to Amex Stadium. Arsenal are fifth. We are 4 points off Brighton at the moment. So even if we win, we still won't overtake Brighton. So you can afford to lose. You can afford to lose on Friday, and you'll be fine. So.
Not to lose, to be honest.
No. But you think that the way they're set up, you think you will be able to get the 3 points?
Yeah. I don't. Nothing. None of the signs are pointing towards we should lose.
Now, I respect that confidence, and to be fair, the way the season started, especially from our perspective as well, it's warranted, shall we say. We will move over to the red half of the fixture, which is Arsenal pod after all, and I'm going to pick the brains of Lottie and Matt on this one. So, just a quick thought. Obviously, this game, another home game at Emirates Stadium. This is our fourth of the season. We've yet to get a league win at home. We're now in November in the WSL season. Like I said, two draws and defeat. I don't know how we've got to November without winning at home, but there we go in the league. Press conference came out. Lotta and Laura are back in training, which is great to hear. Obviously, they've been out injured, and especially with Emily Fox, they're having to manage her minutes because she's played so many games, and especially with the US as well. So they're trying to manage her workload and managing her minutes between games, making sure she's getting enough rest until we can get obviously Laura back to full fitness. 21,000 tickets sold apparently for the game so far. So let's hope we can make a decent noise. So we saw last weekend Alessia Russo getting a goal against her former club, and looks like she's back to form. So Matt, how do you think ex-Brighton striker Alessia Russo will fare against her former club this time around?
I'll be intrigued to see how it goes, because the issue has been it has been in that final third, shall we say. Whether it's the final pass or it's the shot itself, again, I think we've talked about how many times Leah Velti's had shots because no one else has gotten further forward, and no one else has been able to get into those positions to shoot themselves. I think the biggest worry is that, bear in mind what happened last time, that it was at a WSL game at home. It's just trying to get that over. So I don't know if the team is getting there in terms of go two goals up and then concede, see out the game 2-1. I still don't see that at the moment. It still feels like this team needs an extra dimension. I think we're missing a Victoria Pelova, which is, I think, where you kind of would thrive against some of these teams. But unfortunately, she's still recovering from her ACL. In relation to Alessia, I think that she got that spark back with England, and she finally got that goal last weekend. She does need to get one. If she can get one a bit more regularly, I think she'll be up and running, and I think that's the most important thing. It's between her and Stina. I think Alessia's only scored one in the WSL. Stina's scored, was it one against City as well?
No, she missed two 1v1s. That was kind of the problem. We should say this is Renee's first home WSL game in her interim stage. Obviously, she's won a last home game in the Champions League against Vålerenga. That was quite a good evening, should be said. So this is her first time under the light. She's quite positive of this. Looking forward to the atmosphere. I think it's going to be great. We could do a few more evening kickoffs at Emirates Stadium. That's just my opinion. I'd rather play at, let's say, 5:30 than at 1:30. But that's my opinion on the matter. I mean, I'll just quickly come to you, Amy. Just any Russo thoughts? Obviously, she used to play at your Paris. I don't know if that was before or after your sort of start of watching Brighton. But any Russo thoughts from you?
Yeah, no, it was a little bit before my time. But no, I do think her time at Brighton definitely developed her as a player and who the player she is today. Oh yeah, of course, 100%. 100%. But no, I do think she's definitely. I think the international break would have revived her confidence a little bit. But yeah, no, I think she'll be all right. I think.
Yeah. I mean, no offense, but I do hope she gets a hat trick at the weekend. But get back in form. I mean, Lottie, we didn't obviously weekend against Man United scored a goal. What were your thoughts on Russo's performance at the LSV? Are you confident that's going to snowball into the rest of the season? That her season starts now?
Yeah, no, I hope so. It's what we needed. Her, as Matt said, her coming back from England has been in the reset button for most of them, and now we just need them to be doing it domestically. Like a couple of pods I was on, a couple of pods I was on previously. I think I hosted. They were scoring left, right, and centre. I was like, right, I'm really excited for it to come back, and then it's kind of started, but it's also stalled. So yeah, we'll see. I'm not overly saying this is going to happen, but I'm not going to say it's not going to happen. I'm somewhere in the middle.
Talking of forwards and former clubs, I mentioned obviously Russo was ex-Brighton. Of course, Brighton have an ex-Arsenal player in Nikita Paris, who I think, will be brutally honest, didn't have the greatest of games, greatest of seasons, should I say, at Arsenal for whatever reason. Just sometimes
did get her 50th WSL goal though with us. Did get
a 50th WSL goal. I'm hoping she doesn't score against us. Just very quickly, Amy. Paris, does she look back to her best now that she's at Brighton, having come there via Manchester United?
Yeah, I think she's definitely like found her feet now. At the beginning, she was sort of coming off the bench, obviously having an impact, but not goal scoring. But she's now starting. She's starting like pretty much every week now. And gets the goal, scored against United. That was brilliant.
It was a diving header, wasn't it? It was a sort of to knock him across. I'm just like when she played at Manchester United. I'm just worried for that narrative. The narratives. We've had that with Miedema already with the Man City game, so I do have half an eye on her. One player I do want to discuss though is Steph Catley. This came from the press conference. She's being utilised slightly differently this season as a left-sided centre back. Now we did see that when we were in emergency centre back mode when we lost both Leah and Rafa to injury. We had to play Lottie and Steph as centre backs, but there seems to be more of a tactical tweak now because we had Kadina on the bench and against Manchester United, but Renee opted instead to have Steph at left centre back and Leah at right centre back. Lottie, your thoughts on this tweak? Do you think this is going to be our centre back pairing for the rest of the season? Which to me is harsh because I think Kadina's been great.
It is very harsh, but it's like you've said in previous pods, Steph Catley there alongside Kate McCabe, they balance each other's supports out. Steph Catley doesn't have the pace anymore, but Kate McCabe does. So, and they balance each other out. And when something works, I do feel bad for Leah, but it works.
Well, it's one or two. It's only been like one or two games. Is that sample size big enough to say it works, or do you think we need a bit more?
I think we'll know after 2 more games if I'm definitely happy with it. I mean, Leah's been an absolutely immense since she's been playing in that left centre back. But again, there's depth there without Amanda around at the minute, and things like that. It's difficult to say who you want there alongside Leah. Leah's the first name that goes down on the centre back list. That's it for me. But it's about finding that right pairing. And Leah and Steph have been playing together for so long. It shouldn't be hard to build that centre back partnership because she's already got her as a left back.
Speaking of Steph Catley is one of our Aussies. Another one of our Aussies, Caitlin Ford, has had a bit of success. She's won the Player of the Month and Goal of the Month for Arsenal after her goal against Chelsea. Matt, what's the best to describe this? Is Ford back to her best and we should all be celebrating, or do you think maybe somebody else should have won the award?
I'm going to be honest and say that when that news thought, I was like, really? She got Player of the Month again? I know Lottie is actually laughing.
Well, Lottie's a huge fan of Ford, as we all know. She's always been singing her praises, so I'm not surprised.
Excuse me, I'm the one who gave her a 2 last season.
I know.
Remember that?
I gave her a 1.
But
she's already updated to a 3 from me. Let's just put it this way.
Do you know what? You're just way too harsh.
I need to see her more consistently scoring. If she goes and scores a hat-trick against Rangers, then she doesn't really do much until the game against Chelsea, and it's been very much hit and miss. So it's very much Caitlin Ford has been back to Caitlin Ford, but there are certain people that absolutely love her, and she can do no wrong. I'm actually going to
disagree with you on that. Like, since we brought Mariona into this team, she plays better on the right. She's been so involved. She hasn't gone missing in games completely like she normally does. So there's a massive improvement there.
From what I'm seeing, let's take last week. barely noticed him before he was on the pitch.
You raise a good point, so we'll come on to that actually. The Mariano at 10. So Arsenal have been desperately trying to smash the 9 of Russo and the 10 of Frida together and make it work, which for me is just equivalent of throwing 2 same polarity magnets together. It's just not happening. Is Mariano at 10 the solution now? And should that be how we will line? I mean, we'll go into team selections in a bit, but do you think that is the way forward? Mariano at 10 behind Russo?
What is it? A case of where do you put everyone else? Because either it's going to start being a case of, are you going to carry on with this formation, or would you adjust it so then you're changing the formation a little bit more so that you're back in the midfield, shall we say? Because I'm going to be honest, Little and Volty are running on
fumes.
Little fumes. And you've got Cara Cross, who's got the legs to do it. Katrina Cool's not barely had any minutes, so the only time she had minutes is with Denmark. Again, Glover's not. Just
quickly on that one, sorry, it was a bit of extra. Katrina Monaco, I think, played a game with the under-21s for Arsenal this week, so I think that says a lot if that is where she's getting her game time, which is a real shame. But loan market's open, and Brighton might be, if Michelle Agyemang's doing well there, maybe we should give her another one of our players. The fact she didn't go on loan this season, I think is bonkers, and I think she's going to regret that. But you were saying, Matt, sorry, about our midfield.
Yeah, it's just at the moment it's overpacked. Is essentially even with a Victoria Pelova out as well, it's packed. You don't know who to give minutes to, and I think a lot of people are thinking that the transfers that weren't done have probably cost the team a little bit in the long term. But had those transfers have happened, let's say in the striker and the winger and the defensive midfielder role, it would have meant 2 or 3 players would have had to leave, and it's a case of, well, do you get rid of Stino? Do you get rid of Alessia? Do you get rid of one of the other wingers? It's just too many questions, and it's a bit of an issue in itself.
Well, one player we haven't mentioned in that 10 scenario we'll mention it again, but we haven't mentioned tonight, but we haven't mentioned her name, Rosa Kafaji. Lottie, I know you've been dying to see some Rosa Kafaji magic. Is this going to be the night?
Do you know what? At this point, I don't know what way Renee is going to go. You look at Frida and Russo. It works occasionally, but it does not work in general. If you play Stina in front of her, if Stina's scoring, Frida's scoring that night, because that was the correlation last season. They complemented each other so well, but I'm hoping that Caldente and Russo also find their feet, and I'm hoping Kafaji can challenge for Beth Meads on the right or take the left wing.
So there's a winger option. I think
as a winger option, I think that is an option. Even as a 10, she's a bit like Mariona. She might only be young, not have the experience, but she can play that whole front line. And it's a case of finding the balance up top. We're so we're more stat than we are in midfield. It's like, where do you get the minutes?
I like what you mentioned about as a Beth Mead alternate, because we've run Beth Mead into the ground before because she's so good. But I think her as an alternate right winger, that does sound like a pretty good option. So we'll see.
There isn't anyone to challenge Beth for that spot, and that annoys me.
Yeah,
and you just know that right wing is going to belong to her. And this season's been slightly different because you've seen Caitlin Ford there when Mariona's at the 10. But we just need someone to step up and challenge her, and give her a bit of a rest, but also give her minutes at the same time. It's the balance that we need to work out.
You mentioned Renee, who's come up in a conference actually when this new manager, this mysterious individual, is going to come in and take over. She actually asked if she wanted to stay on at Arsenal, because sometimes manager can bring in their own staff, and she says she's happy at Arsenal. She loves working here. She loved the previous role she had at the club before she had to take on this interim role. I mean, Lottie, do you think Renee, would you keep her in the back room when the new manager comes in? Have you been impressed enough? Think that she?
I don't see why not. She wasn't the problem. Like, we saw arguments on his last game from where we sit in the Emirates for the games. Like, they were arguing amongst themselves on the bench, like Jonas and her, and it's just like...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, fine. Yes, but you think she should hopefully stay at the club beyond when the new manager comes in. So we'll move on to team selections. We'll start with you, Amy. So Brighton, how should we expect them to line up, and who should we be afraid of?
I don't think there'll be many changes from the Leicester game.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, I think it might be the exact same 11 that we put out against Leicester, because I feel like that's our strongest. Players that you should be afraid of. I'm going to throw one out there and say Poppy Pattinson. I think she is a brilliant player. Should be eyed up by Serena, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Not being biased or anything, but 100%. I think she's got that quality. I think up on the left, be a bit worried.
Lottie's nodding like somebody who has her in a fancy WSL
Oh,
lineup.
I do. I've reaped the points from Poppy. Apart from that red card this season, I've reaped the points from her. She's a staple to my defence, and she's a bargain price.
Was that in the Villa game? Was that the one was it the Villa game we had all the red cards in? Yeah. Was it 4-2 in the end?
Yes.
So same lineup as the Leicester City game, which you won 1-0, I think, was the Paris with the winner. We'll go on to the Arsenal side then. So we'll just run through it. I think goalkeeping wise, I'm just going to say I think DVD's going to start this one as well. I don't see this being something as a Manu one. Matt, we discussed Steph left centre back. I mean, I would imagine the backline picks itself, but I'll give you a chance to offer an alternative if you think otherwise.
I don't see Renee changing much. If she changes something, it'd be the midfield. So I will go for Fox at right back, Kate McCabe left back, and Steph and Leah is the centre back pair.
We'll go to you on Lottie in the midfield. I mean, she's stuck with Kim Little and Leah Velti. Could this be a game for Kyra to come in potentially, or even Mola Cool? I mean, does Kyra deserve a chance to come in for this one?
Yeah, I'd probably pair up Kyra with Kim, and bring in Leah Velti in a bit later, or the other way around. Either way it does, but I'm not confident with Kim and Leah anymore. It's a bit crusty. Everyone knows how to get around them.
Interesting. Matt, on the wings, who are going to be your flying gooners on the wings for this one?
Well, with the fact that Beth started on the bench, I think she'll start this one.
Okay.
So I don't know who. If I had it my way, I'd probably have Mariona on the left, but I think she'll probably be in the middle. So it probably means Caitlin Ford's going to be on the left.
So Ford and
actually, I'm going to throw a curveball. Lena Hurtig.
Hang on a second. You just said Mariona on the left, and then you want Caitlin Ford on the left. Which one are you going with?
No, I'm going with Lena Hurtig on the left.
And Mead on the right.
I like that.
Yes,
I like that. That.
We do have a lot of love for Lena Hurtig here because we want it's going to happen. It's going to click. She's going to have her big moment, and I mean, yeah, for a player who has suffered so much.
Why not this weekend? Play that wild card.
Maybe this Friday is going to be the bit where she bursts onto the scene. 3 seasons in, and
she came on for a few minutes for the Champions League. You saw how hungry she was for that first goal on her return. I mean, she clattered into the goalkeeper. I mean, that first touchdown and the ball positioning was it Russo's goal? Yeah. For Russo's goal, it was just amazing. And I mean, why not just play her on the left? Let's go for it.
We should just say on the Hurtig one, against Manchester United, she came on for the last few minutes and looked okay, and she's a good aerial threat. Which set pieces
again compared to most of the girls as well.
Renee actually said in the press conference, set pieces something that they've been really focusing on this week, being better in both boxes, being more efficient in both boxes. So we'll see if we that bears fruit. Lottie, I'll give you the chance to pick our 9 and 10 strike force.
I'm going to just go a bit wild. I know Russo scored, but I'm going to go for Marnham and Stina.
Stina Frieda. Bring it back. Bring it. Okay.
Yeah.
So free. So Russo.
One
Russo
score
on
and the
bench.
others coming. I believe in the theory.
Okay, so so Russo scores and then Steeners will follow afterwards with her goal. Well, we did say in the last pod that the bringing Steener on for Frida, bring Steener on for Russo, sorry, at the LSV wasn't a good move, but maybe it will work. Maybe if the game against Man United was a Russo game, maybe the Brighton game will be a
if
Steener
you
game.
put Frida there, it works. If you've taken Frida off, there is absolutely no point for me.
Well, we'll see how accurate or inaccurate our predictions are. Speaking of predictions, I haven't forgotten. It's time to say, how do you think this is going to end? Aimee is the guest. You get to go first. What's the score going to be?
Okay. I'm going to play it safe. 1-0 Brighton.
1-0 Brighton. Okay,
Yeah.
so a tight one, tight game, and Brighton are going to. Okay, Matt.
I think it's going to be the same as it was last week. 1-0.
1-0 again, another draw. So we're still waiting for that first home win. Okay, Lottie.
I predict goals. I'm going to go 3-2.
Of course you are.
To Arsenal.
I would expect nothing less.
That's my favourite scoreline this season. Come on, be real.
It is. I think. I do think Brighton are going to get a goal. I'll be honest. I do think they are. I think it's going to be 2-1 Arsenal. And I think I'm going to be shredding nerves in the in block 2.
I'm so glad you're sitting at the opposite end of my rows because I don't want you nowhere near me. If you're going to be shredding that, I'm telling you that now.
I'm going to be so nervous. I'm going to have to commentate on the game. So everyone, get your earpods in. And
that's fine. I'm sure my little friend Memphis will drown you out. She's only 9, so yeah, she'll drown you out.
Absolutely, she will. It's going to be a good one, I think. No, like I said, Friday night under the lights. What's the kickoff time? Is it 7? I believe, is it 7?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock kickoff. There are still obviously tickets still available, but I hope those who do make it give us a good atmosphere, and I hope the players step up and give us our first home win of the season for the league. So before we depart, just a quick round of your socials. So Aimee, where can we find you on social media?
I'm ALC_journalism on Instagram and X. So I'm blind.
Just obviously quick. We should just mention you're working with Beyond the Pitch. Just a quick shout. What is it you're doing with them, and what is the sort of work you're doing for Beyond the Pitch?
Yeah, so I just I'm writing at the moment. I've had a couple pieces put out. I've done a piece on Portsmouth. I've done a piece on Japan, the national team. And yeah, currently working on another one. Not sure when.
When it come out.
Scheduled for, but yeah.
No, it's been good since I've come through with a lot of interesting stuff that's happening. Hence the name Beyond the Pitch. Not stuff that's happening. It's not about the match reports. It's about what's happening behind the scenes and stuff most people don't know about or think about. So it's good. It's been good reading your work on that one. Matt, where can we find you?
You can find me at MattLR28. You can also follow the pod at VAWPod.
And Lottie, where can we find you if we wish to?
Oh, you can't find me on social media because people keep stealing my pictures. You can find me at the VAWPod on Instagram.
Absolutely, yeah. Do give it a follow, and do give our pod on the YouTube as well, and subscribe. It does mean a lot, and we look forward to being able to talk to you in another pod soon. For me, you can find me as always at Adam_Salterform on Threads, Instagram, Twitter, and I post nonsense on all 3. So if you do enjoy your football nonsense, there's no better place to be. And if you enjoy old Arsenal clips and want to learn more about the illustrious history of the Arsenal, you can follow at the AW Archive. Very interesting game coming out on November the 11th, I should say. A very crucial historical game, and it's an absolute find. And I look forward to sharing that with all next week. But that's it. It's the end of the pod. And just looking forward to the game. I think it's going to be an absolutely brilliant game against Brighton at Emirates Stadium under the lights. Here's hoping for a first home league win of the season. Come on, you guys.